So I'm going to bring everyone together. Thank you for anyone who's come since the academics meeting. Hopefully next year you can make the academics meeting as well. Mr. Einsweiler is riveting, and appreciate the information he shared with us today. If you weren't here for the academics meeting, we've got some technology issues which we're dealing with and dealing through. So you get to see kind of some of my stuff up there on the ceiling. I'm going to try to work through things pretty quick. If you were here for academics, I try to bring in a few more guest speakers. I try to bring in some more experts so that you can hear from other people. So I'm going to walk you through a couple things here. First, this is my contact information. I'm your contact for anything, activities, athletics, from there. If you've already been acquainted with your coach, that's really your first stop for anything. If you've got a football player, Coach Kleeman or one of his lower level coaches would be your contact there. But if you need anything, I'm always willing to help. And this is my contact information. Phone number there gets you directly to the office. My email, some days is maybe the best way to get with me. Those phone calls might wait until the end of the day, but emails pop up and come through a little bit quicker. Got Twitter there. And in previous years, I'd plug Twitter a lot and say, like, hey, everyone, get on Twitter and follow us. You should do that. I'd like you to do that right now. If you're not following Cubs activities, get on there. We post all the scores of at least the varsity level events on Cubs activities. So if you can't be at a contest all year long, you can go find information on Cubs activities. And then Facebook's kind of the place where we put live feed links, important information for game days, etc. You won't find updates and scores on Facebook as much, but you're going to find the pregame stuff that might get you a live feed link for if we're away at a volleyball tournament or something like that. So those are both good follows. If you got your phone, get it out, follow it up. Appreciate that. Agenda for tonight. Like I said, you can see I've got a lot of ringers, a lot of guest speakers I'm going to bring in here to talk about different things. We also don't all want to be here till 9 o'clock, so I'm going to ask them to be as brief as possible. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible as well. And I'll field some questions at the end, and I'll stick around and you can come up and ask me any questions as we close down shop when I'm done here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to invite Lori Krusich up to talk about the music parents. Applause for Lori.
Well, welcome. Music parents, when you think of music parents, you think of band, you think of chorus. It's a K through 12 we support throughout. Lots of things we support. Uniforms, the entry fees to contests, pins, awards, music costs for the musicals, a lot of behind the scene things that happen. Music parents supports that. So, what we need from you is we need you to volunteer at the concession stand. The football concession stand, the concession stand for soccer, for track. It's actually on the double headers, the JV2 games. There'll actually be 2 different shifts. So if you're coming from one game, sign up for the other game, stay, help support us. The other cool thing about concessions is we've brought back some favorites. Walking tacos are back. So some other things that we had a simpler menu last year because of COVID, we've brought some favorites back. So come check us out. Plexiglass is gone at the concession stand. Yay, we're excited about that. I can hear some people clapping. And then the other cool thing is we can now take debit cards and credit cards. So come and use your debit card. It's a minimum of $5 purchase, so you can get a Cub meal for that and support the music boosters. You can also donate online. We have a PayPal account set up, so you can donate, as well as just make a donation at the stand. We'll take your cash donations as well as your credit card. On the website, there is a link to sign up for concessions. So lots of opportunities to sign up, and those will also be sent out through the music teachers. So the band, chorus teachers, also through middle school as well. Encourage your students to sign up and help as well. All right, that's it. Any questions? Right.
Thank you. And it felt like people wanted to maybe give a round of applause for Walking Tacos. So if you want to do that, go ahead. Walking Tacos, you're back. All right, I'm going to continue with my guest speakers. I'm going to invite Chad Bauman up, president of the Nevada Athletic Booster Club, to talk about some needs and things within the Booster Club.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Chad Bauman. I'm the current president for the Nevada Athletic Booster Club. For the Booster Club, we're here to support the athletic programs in our school district. That's both high school and middle school. We do that in a number of different ways, whether it's labor-related, promotion of the sports, and of course financial. To give you an idea, over the last 3 years, we've contributed over $200,000 worth of equipment, facility upgrades, uniforms, etc. Throughout the district. So we are here to support. Some of the things we've done, the video boards in the gym, indoor golf simulator for the golf teams. We've purchased a shooting machine for the basketball teams, bat racks, helmet racks, benches for baseball, softball, a little bit of everything. We do that through a number of different ways. We host several youth tournaments throughout the year. We run the concession stands here in the gym and at baseball, softball. We'll have walking tacos as well. We will also have a credit card. You can purchase with the credit card again this year. But our biggest thing that we do is our membership drive. Tonight kind of kicks off our 2021-2022 membership drive. We have forms here if you're interested. We have several different levels for you that you can join. Each one has different benefits to you, whether it's a scholarship opportunities if you have a senior athlete, passes to all our events, discounts at the Cub Hub, our merchandise place. So it's just a variety of benefits. Not only are you helping the programs themselves, but you get a little something back as well. The sheets are up here if you're interested. We also do, for anyone that joins at the purple membership, which is at the $100 level, if you do that before our first home football game, your name will be entered in a drawing. We have a gift basket we'll give away to some lucky winner. So make sure you get your membership in early. We are also looking for a few board members. If you're interested in serving on the Athletic Booster Club board, come see me afterwards. I'll give you all the information you need, answer any questions. So thank you for your time, and membership forms are here.
Thank you, Chad. A couple things that you're not going to find in my slides here that Chad's speech kind of reminded me of that I want to bring up with this group. The first is if you're at all considering being a Booster Club board member, we're in search of good Booster Club board members. We have nice things. We have really nice things here. Basically all programs have anything that they really want or need. And the reason we have those things is the Booster Club. And the time and effort that goes in there is really rewarding. And then on the backside, you can see it as you walk around our facilities. And a lot of that's driven by our booster clubs. So consider that. Both of the clubs brought up the ability to pay with debit and credit. I did want to let you know that after the year of COVID changes and protocols, that we've made some decisions about entry and how you're going to get into Nevada events. I'm tired of fighting with people about not taking cash, so we will take your cash if it's exact change when you come to events, so I thought everyone might be happy to hear that. Get your passes when you sign up at registration. We will still have a debit and credit card option when you go to games, and we still do plan on having a prepaid purchase so you can kind of fly by. So we're going to kind of have any option you want to get into games, including cash. So that's going to be a change going into the fall here that we'll have communicated on as we get closer to those first events. The one other thing that I don't have on the slide that I want to talk with you about, for the last 5 years we've been what was considered an Under Armour school. We work with the Graphic Edge with Under Armour. This past year we put to a committee of about 20 people and we let 3 or 4 companies come in and give their best pitches. we've actually moved to working with a company called BSN Sports, and we're going to start using Nike equipment, Nike uniforms, etc. Some people, it's like Coke and Pepsi, right? You know, someone loves some love one, someone love the other. The thing is, and a lot of you as business professionals can see this out in the world, there's a lot of supply chain disruptions right now, and that's impacting Nike and Under Armour and basically anyone who buys goods not in America. So right now we're having a lot of supply chain disruptions with that, so you might not see a lot of new gear this fall from BSN, but we're going to continue to work to try to up that supply of Nike gear and equipment as the supply chain is less disrupted. I'm going to move forward with my slides, and we're going to talk strength training for a second. If you're sitting in here, you're likely part of an activity or athletic program, and the biggest part of those activity and athletic programs is the weight room. There's not one program across the state that isn't committed to the weight room that competes at a high level, and I'll repeat that, cross country and above. There's not one program anywhere in this state that isn't committed to the weight room that competes at a high level. And if we want to compete at a high level, and which we do, and our students do, we need to have the weight room. We run a common strength program through Premier Athlete Training. It's a culture of improvement all year round. When you're in season, it is required that you go 2 times a week. Your coaches will communicate when that availability is. When you're out of season, we can't require it, but if you want to compete at a high level, you want to be in there 3 or 4 days a week with the Premier Athlete Training team. We also run speed and agility throughout the entire summer, and we've seen a lot of buy-in to this program, and Premier Athlete Training has been a big reason for that improvement. And I'm going to let Mike have the floor here for a second to talk to you about Premier Athlete Training.
So, hi, my name is Mike. I'm our on-site coordinator for Premier Athlete Training. I'm responsible for running the weight room, managing the athletes, and making sure they are getting in a program where they're developing to the best of their ability across their high school career. A little bit about my background, about our company's background. We work in strength conditioning specifically for athletic development. We don't train powerlifters, we don't train bodybuilders, we don't train weightlifters. We train strength conditioning specific to athletic performance and injury risk reduction for athletic performance, and that's kind of our career. My boss founded this company. He's a Olympic strength conditioning coach at Iowa State. Works with wrestling, track and field, swimming, diving, and wrestling. Gymnastics as well. And we kind of built off that, and we've now been part of Beta for 3 years. What we like to do is kind of set the athlete up to reach their fullest potential. And I think that is something that is missed a lot across the state and across the country in high school weightlifting. In general, I think athletes, they have a lot of responsibilities. Between being in 3, 4, potentially 5 sports, they kind of get into this repetitive motion of continued maintenance. And we don't like to see that. We want the athletes to not only perform the best they can to their ability in their sport, be able to recover for sport-specific practice, but also continue to make progress and continue to get stronger. Because if the athlete's continuously in season, we run into a situation where they're a senior and they're behind. And that's the last thing I want to see. Because these are qualities that can be developed throughout their entire high school career if selected properly in terms of volume, intensity, exercise selection, so on and so forth, and careful fatigue management to ensure that they're both recovering from sport-specific practice, games, tournaments, so on and so forth, and continuously developing their strength, continuously developing their power output, all while becoming more resilient in the process, resistant to injury. Some markers I like to kind of look for a good strength conditioning program are how many non-contact injuries we have throughout the year. That indicates to me the athletes are strong, they're tolerating the forces and the demands of their sport well, and every single year we've seen continual downward ticks of non-contact injuries, is something I'm very thankful But in the process, we're not just keeping the athletes healthier, they're performing better. We've kind of become known as the weightlifting school across the state, which is something I'm very proud of. I'd be willing to put our leaderboard up against any school in 3A. We probably have the strongest weightlifting in the state. And that will continue to get better because I don't want to compare ourselves just to across the state. I believe we can continuously improve as a group. The way we kind of set that up on a year-long progression, we obviously have the out-of-season specific programming, like Dustin said. We have the in-season specific program. We kind of look at volumes for training workloads within those contexts. What we look for is out-of-season, we are hitting something called a maximum adaptive volume. We're training maximum in the weight room to develop the athletes physically. Then when we get into season, we run minimal effective dose to moderate doses of training to ensure continued progress. Then we taper down to maintenance doses during championship season. This ensures a recovery model where they can make maximal progress in the off season and then continue that progress and build off that base of work in season, continuously getting stronger, but also being fresher for their sport. You know, these kids are athletes first. They're not weight room athletes first. So the weight room needs to be a supplement towards continued development. The analogy I always like to use is developing yourself maximally in the weight room is akin to trying to build a school and learning it at the same time. The mere process of maximally developing the athlete can interfere slightly with the sport-specific practice and eventual game time, come championship season time. So we just try to set the athletes up for that progression model, train them as hard as we can, when we can, make sure they're recovering, make sure they're adapting, make sure they're continuously getting better, becoming more resilient, selecting certain exercises specific to the sport. We have a year-long progression model for our core list, but we individually select our auxiliary and prehab movements specific for the sport to make sure the athletes are tolerating the sport better. And then we just try to get them in the program, reinforce buy-in, and keep them showing up. I've always wanted the weight room to be fun for the kids. You know, the kids work hard, and the athletes, you know, their sports really demand a lot out of them. And I want it to be an environment that not only they enjoy going to, if they don't go on to play college athletics, at least they're developing the habits and the skills that I've instilled in them in the weight room to be healthy and to be strong the rest of their lives. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer. I do better with directing questions.
Is there a nutrition piece?
Yes, so we offer nutrition guidance in all of our weight rooms. We have specific nutrition guidance for day of competition, daily training, hard training, moderate training, and we give macronutrient guidelines based off of that, fruit and vegetable recommendations based off that, and hydration recommendations based off of the specific demands of the day. And that's posted on all the days. What's up?
Parents access to that?
Yes, and we can definitely send over some copies for emails if you want access to those too, those specific plans. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, of course.
You can hit, Mike, you stick around for a second. Mike can stick around and take some questions if you have them afterwards. I do want to get moving along to get to our season meetings. A couple of things with Mike that I wanted to take note. When we brought Premier in, we said a couple of things. We want to have a program that's unified. Everyone's doing mostly the same things, but also that if a student has strength training that day and they have an event or activity that night, we want them to be a better athlete that night. So even if your student has, if they're scheduled to lift on a Monday and they have a JV basketball game that night, they should still go to their strength training. They're going to set them up so they're better athletes that night. We need to stay on those schedules, and they do a great job with that. The second thing is we incorporate it into our school day. You can take the Premier content during the school day. Mike would argue it's better with Mike, which I would like every coach or teacher to do, but we do offer it during the school day with Coach Struck as well, so you can get lifting in during the school day, so that you have more time in the morning and sometimes after school. And I think the best part about Mike is sometimes when you think about like tough weightlifting guys, right? Well, that's got to be a football player. Mike's actually a runner. Cross country is his fall sport, and he's actually a runner. So I think that helps buy a lot of the kids in that every athlete needs this strength training, and Mike does a great job with the kids. Thanks, Mike. Some quick information on how communication, how you can stay informed with Nevada activities. The first thing is that every coach, and you should have this communicated to you from me already via email, has a remind set up for their program. That's for students and parents, sometimes separate, but you should be on that remind for communication from your coaches. The second thing is you can follow along with our schedules, times, locations, etc. on our activities calendar, which if you go to our school website, hover over the activities tab, click activities calendar, you can find a wealth of information there. On that same email that I shared with you, the remind information for each of your coaches, you'll find a tutorial on how to set up. You can set up a merge to your calendar. You can set up notifications, etc. And if you can't figure it out, I'm a recovering tech coordinator from back in the day. I'll help you. Give me a call, all right? I'll walk you through any of that. Also, I'm going to say it again. If you're not following us on Twitter or Facebook, do that. And then we do push some information through cubsathletics.com that will have some content on every level throughout the year. One other big tool, and if you don't have your phone out and you don't have the Varsity Bound app, like right now's the time to get it. Varsity Bound is essentially ESPN for high school sports, and it's actually created out of Ames by a company called Varsity Bound. And if you go on there and you follow the Nevada Cubs, you can get your, I say this with a big asterisk, you can get your schedules and a lot of information through there. The thing is they steal that information from where I put it in on our activities calendar, and sometimes they miss by a little bit, but they're 99% accurate on here. You'll find all the rosters, you'll find statistics from 2005 and beyond. It's ESPN for high school athletics, and really, Iowa's the only state with anything this powerful, and it's really cool. So if you don't have it, download the Varsity Bound app. Typically, I would have Matt Myers, Tasha Vorman here to talk. Neither of them were able today. I just wanted to drop a couple of notes about athletic training. Our athletic training staff works at 21st Century, out at Story County Medical. Every afternoon, either Tasha or Matt, typically Matt, comes in to look over any injuries, to help students with any taping needs, etc. We have an athletic trainer here every afternoon right after school for your student athletes to visit with. They also, if they were standing here, they would say, any injury, they'll do a free pre-screen at the clinic. So if you have any injury for an athlete at Nevada High School, they'll do a free pre-screen for you to get you going in the right direction. That stuff can also happen here with Matt before practices, etc. They've been a great resource. They're at all of our events, and they take care of our athletic training needs. I'm sure that Matt and Tasha would do this presentation more justice, but you get what you get. Conflict resolution. It's high school activities. There's going to be some conflicts. There's going to be some times where you disagree with the coach's decision. There's going to be a time where you disagree with your student's decision. This is a great place to learn conflict resolution for your students. We're talking about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. What better place than now to learn how to deal with these conflicts and do it on their own? So just keep in mind that when we're resolving conflicts, that we all want the same thing at the end. It's just going to look different for each party on how it looks to get there. Sometimes you're going to disagree with the coach on how we make your son or daughter more successful. And if you want to have a conversation with your coach about different things, most of them are going to be open to that, depending on the content. But this is a great place for your student to learn how to work through a lot of these conflicts. Differing opinions. The biggest thing that I've seen in my 10 years now of athletic administration, when the adults work together, better things happen for your students. If the adults can't work together, it's going to end up in more conflict. So hopefully the adults can work together to get things working for the students. As far as conflict resolution goes, I will listen to concerns about the ethics and the well-being of your children. If that's ever in question, please reach out to me right away. It's important to me. It will be taken care of promptly. I will listen if you've already met and reached out to your coach. If you've talked to your coach in your specific sport, I'd be happy to listen if your concern wasn't addressed. Things that I probably won't listen to, I'm not going to talk to you about other students, just like I wouldn't talk about your student with another parent. Not going to talk about playing time. That's a coaching decision. Playing time is why we pay the coaches to do what they do. They evaluate the students. They're with them every day at practice. That's on them. And then coaching philosophy is another thing that we're probably not going to go in detail on if we're in a discussion. Conflicts are a normal part of life. High school activities provide a great platform to learn conflict resolution. In the event there is a conflict, there's a proper chain of command. The athlete and the parent should talk to the coach. 97% of the time, that takes care of all situations. If the athlete and the parent talk to the coach. If you feel like you couldn't get through with the coach, things still are bad, then the parent and coach can meet, and then after that, parent-coach activities director meeting might be called for. I will tell you, in my time in Nevada, that it's had to happen 2 or 3 times. I can't even really remember them. Typically, if you work with your coach, we're all moving in the same direction. We want the same thing, and that's success for your student, that's success for your family, that's success for our programs. Next up, I've got our expert in the drama field, Karen Niblock.
Hi, welcome to my space. So this is our house. This is where we do what we do. And we really work hard to try and help you become the best person that you can be as yourself. And so I think it's just important to remember that even if you're in sports, there's a place for you here. We do tech here. We do building here. We do backstage. We do makeup. We do costumes. Besides all those people that are on stage. So we just want to invite you to come back to our house. If you want to check it out and talk to me about it and see how that might work with your schedule, that's great. Some of the most interesting people have gone through drama. If you really want to talk about it, talk to Coach Struck. He will talk your ear off about all the things he did. And so would Mr. Smith, actually. So, believe it or not, he's had lead roles even, so yeah, so that's pretty cool. So we'd love to have you come back. We'd love to have you be part of the program and to experience what's here. It's amazing. We've taken some students who didn't even want to talk on stage, and by their senior year, they had leads. So it's about building confidence and helping you be the best person you can be. So I have sheets if you want to know the dates, just to even look at it and see if it's even possible. I'll be glad to give you these after the meeting. Thanks. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mrs. Niblock. I maybe don't look like it, but I did have a couple of high school roles, and I was in a college musical, actually. And so I've been accused before of some drama, students who don't know me that well, of not liking drama, and then I enlightened them that I did have some roles, and then we have a better relationship, and we're better friends. I'm typecast, though, but they have to be silly, so if the role's not silly, it's not for me. I've got next up Patrick Donovan. I wanted to invite esports down. Esports is new for us at Nevada. Started it last year, and last year was kind of crazy, right? But I wanted to give the esports coaches a chance to talk to you about what esports is and what it looks like here at Nevada.
Thank you. So my name is Patrick Donovan. I'm actually one of the technology integration specialists for the district, and I was one of the esports coaches last year. Esports, of course, is video game competition. We were part of the Iowa High School Esports Association, competing against schools across the state of Iowa, big and small. We participated in 4 games last year: Smash Ultimate, Overwatch, Rocket League, and Mario Kart. We had a lot of wins, good number of losses too. But the students that participate, it's like any other sport, because they're working as a team, they're working to collaborate, they're working on their skills, how to grow from failure, all those things. We brought in people to talk about health and nutrition and physical aspects of that. And it is a growing program in the state of Iowa and actually across the country. Last week, actually, while I was up at Vikings training camp, I got to see the Vikings' own professional esports team facility. They gave out tours. Talked with a guy there who actually is a UNI grad. He works on their social media content creation team, and he says that he played on a club team, but that helped him get in the door there, and he's making good money doing content creation, and he showed me the 4 open desks they have for future employees. So esports is a very big growing field. We're hoping to compete in 5 games this year, but in the fall we're in Smash Ultimate, which is one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm happy to be part of that team. But I will be around later if you have any questions. Thank you.
As it turns out, I have more experience playing video games than I do in drama. So, I want to shout out to a few people here that followed on Twitter. We've got 7 new followers in the last half hour. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and get your phone out, give us a Twitter follow. I'm getting close to the end here, to a time we're going to break out to your individual meetings. Academic eligibility looks a little bit different this year. All students are eligible on the first day of activities this year, given proclamations and different things that have happened over the last year. So academic eligibility is going to impact 0 students on August 27th, I think is our first contest, a football game. There is no academic eligibility impacting anyone to start the year. That being said, at the end of the first term, in all likelihood, not passing one of your courses is likely going to land you with what's called no pass, no play, which is a state rule that says for the next 30 days of your next activity, you cannot participate with that team because you didn't pass a class. It's called the scholarship rule. So student athletes, you are a student athlete, get your grades in order, and we won't have to worry about this. Grades aren't in order, then we have some issues. There's some other criteria that fits in there too, but at its basic form, if you fail a class, you're going to sit 30 days of your next activity, and the timing of that depends on what season we're in, etc. Another thing that could impact your students' ability to play an activity or be in the play or go to an FFA competition, etc., is called a code of conduct. A code of conduct addresses a student athlete's conduct outside of the school or even inside the school sometimes. It's how are you representing your school. It typically deals with legal issues. If your son or daughter is smoking a cigarette at the end of the road and they're standing there smoking, that's not representing Nevada athletics the way that we'd like to be represented. It's an illegal act by anyone less than 21 years old, and it simply isn't what a Nevada athlete would stand for. So common sense plays out here. If you aren't sure, don't do it. If it's illegal, it's probably a code of conduct if it comes across our desk. The other thing I'd tell parents and students, people like taking pictures of what you're doing. If you're doing it, there's probably a picture of it, and then when you you make the wrong person angry, those things get shared, and they go out there. So be careful, be a good student, follow the rules, follow the law. Required forms, the first ones there, emergency contact, social media contract, and heads up concussion, those are all due at registration. Okay, so this is important. If you have an athlete that you have not registered yet, they won't participate on Monday because we don't have the heads up concussion form. If your student athlete is registered, you've signed off on that. So make sure your student athlete is registered. The second one's a little bit different. It's our physical. It's a statewide mandate that every student has a physical saying that they're healthy enough to play the activities that they're part of. During that physical, they might give you some restrictions or tell you some sports you can't play. This is good for 13 months from your last physical. So if you got your physical last year on this day, you're good until a month from now. If you got your physical last year in June, you're probably coming up on needing a physical, and you'll need a physical to participate on Monday at practice. Camp looks a little bit different. mandatory practices, you need to have an updated physical. Your coach is going to be contacting you or your parent, if you're a student or a parent, if you don't have that, as soon as we have all the rosters submitted, and then also make sure your student athlete is registered. Nurse's office with Eileen Patterson.
Hi, I'm going to talk a few more things about this physical. It should be on the e-registration form, okay? If not, there's some by the office. It can be done by a chiropractor, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, your regular doctor, you go to clinics and aides. It has to be signed by you, the parent, on the bottom for practice purposes too, okay? This says that you allow your child to participate, and then, we can treat if there's any issues. So please don't forget, parents, to sign the bottom of that form. And we ask that you fill out the health history. That's really important. Any medications, immunizations. 7th and 12th graders need immunizations. Tdap and meningococcal. State rule. It's not our rule. It's the state. So please, if you do a free physical, Story Medical does great free physicals over the summer. They've already done those two, but they cannot give immunizations at those times. So if your child is in 7th grade, new, or 12th grade, they need meningococcal. Those can't be given at a free physical. So please, we can have a 30 to 60 day wait period, but we do need you to get those immunizations right away. This year they're going to audit my records in October instead of the late November. So I'll be hounding some parents if I don't have those. But if you have questions, you can get those. If you said, I've already had my physical, I can't get in for another year, the nurse can do that at the clinics. It's just a nurse visit. It's not a full doctor visit. Just say, I need meningococcal for senior year, and you're good to go. They can make those appointments. Story County Public Health also has, if you have no insurance, if your insurance doesn't cover immunizations, they should be covered, but if they're not, they can set up an appointment. Any questions, please just give me a call. I'm so happy to help you find those appointments, and we just want to get those cleared. One other thing, 9th graders. If you have any new 9th graders in here, the dental form that we have, these are good. If you went to the dentist last year in 8th grade, they have the information, and it's just a quick, they can be faxed to the office, they they just need to fill that out. If there's any reason that you can't, or you can't afford it, we can help with that. So that's just something that we do every year at the end of the year for the 9th grade, because you're all, even though you might have been in Nevada middle school and elementary, this is considered a new school, and so 9th graders and all kindergartners need a dental screening. So those are the kind of paperwork that I get to deal with. So if you have any questions, please, you can email me or reach the office if you have questions, but that's the paperwork that I will be following up on. Thank you.
That's it for all my guest speakers. So one last hand for anyone that came up and was a guest speaker for the activities portion. One thing before I send you off into your individual meetings, you might see on Facebook, you might see on Twitter, we've always kind of celebrated Nevada Cub Pride as something we're proud of, as something where we're Cubs and we're united in that pride. At the activities department, I've started using another handle called Team Cubs. And what the idea behind Team Cubs is that we're all part of the same team. And I'm actually looking at, we're going to start an award here this year for like the Team Cubs Parent of the Year. What Team Cubs is that the boys basketball team and the wrestling team, those are both part of Team Cubs. We want to see just as many basketball boys at wrestling meets as wrestling boys at basketball games. This means that the 9th grade football dad and the senior track mom, you're both on the same team. We're both part of Team Cubs. We're both part of the Nevada Cubs. This means that even though the girls tennis coach and the girls track coach are competing for the same athletes, that they support each other and they want what's best for each other. This includes in the weight room, the classroom, anywhere. Being part of Team Cubs means we all want a positive success for NHS students. Being part of Team Cubs means you cheer just as loud for your own student as you do for the rest of the team. And I think that's the big one. Those are the parents we want to have around, right? The parent that cheers just as loud for all the other kids as they do for your student. Those are great people. Being part of Team Cubs means you're supportive of administration, coaches, players, and other parents. Doesn't mean you always agree, but you're supportive. And those people are part of your team. And I'll be part of your team, and I hope you're part of my team and the coaches' teams as part of Team Cubs. Some things that we do to support Team Cubs is all of our head coaches have been through a training called 3D coaching, which helps the athletes learn about teaching kids fundamentals, but also mental and then heart, to teach to the heart. So those are the three things 3D coaching teaches to. Coaches, players, and parents get out of athletics what you put into it. Are you giving all that you have to make it a positive experience? It is true that there are games that can be won and lost at your dining room table. Are you being a positive influence on that, or are you hurting the cause? Just something to think about. I can take any questions here. If it's something that's more individual, I'll stay down here. But if you've got a question you think is good for the whole group, I'd take it now. You all want to leave. We're going to go off to our fall head coaches meetings. I just have the coaches listed up here. I try to do a lot of this presentation like it's the first time you've ever been in here, because a lot of time we have a lot of freshman parents. Your boys cross country coach is James Mills. Your girls cross country coach, I should say, is Sean Crane. Football and basketball cheerleading is Mallory Kane. Andy Kleeman's your head football coach. Johnny Schneiderman's your volleyball coach. Dance has already had a meeting because they start a little earlier because dance people are crazy. But they've already started their meeting. I mean it in the nicest way, I promise. And then we do have a esports breakout with Coach Donovan if you came to hear about esports today. Here's where you're going. Football, largest group, stick around, stay here. Volleyball, you're going to head down to the high school gym. Cross country, you're going to head to the Commons. And on the other side of the Commons, Coach Kane will be there for cheerleading. And esports, you're going to go ahead and head down to the media center. And then Coach Donovan can show you a little bit of the setup for esports as well while you're down there. If you have questions on where those things are because you're new, let me help you. If not, go ahead and break out to your